Even though I didn't have any luck finding an authentic alien artifact in Veracruz, I'm still looking forward to seeing the results of the C14 sample I took from Mark Russell's artifact. If my sample comes back with the same results as his test, it could mean he's the owner of a 7,000-year-old artifact that will shatter the archaeological record. And it might even prove that aliens exist. In the meantime, I'm traveling back home to show Mark's artifacts to an expert in Mesoamerican cultures named Ed Barnhart to see if he can shed some light on who might have made them. Here's the first one.
Well, definitely see the resemblance to movie-style aliens.
Yeah.
Odd leaf-shaped eyes. I don't know. There's really not a lot that I could identify as Mesoamerican.
Take a look at that.
Well, if there's anything that's consistent in Mesoamerican art, it's their love of symmetry.
Symmetry is definitely not something this artifact has.
This has such an interesting organic look to it that I can't imagine any Maya doing something like that.
All right, well, let's try one more here. This is pretty interesting. There's something a little different on here. If you look at the face, there's some interesting script.
One thing that stands out right off the bat is that people in Mesoamerica tend to write from up to down and either pairs or columns, but this doesn't have any column order. Instead, it has more of a right to left writing.
Swing and a miss, huh? All right. Well, Ed, I'd like to show you a picture if you don't mind. This is more three-dimensional. It actually comes off the surface of the piece, but this is an inset piece, and there's actually glue along here. This glue is organic-based.
Really?
Yes. I showed Dr. Barnhart the results of the C14 test Mark Russell performed on this tablet, and he's just as shocked by the date of 7,500 BC as I was.
Whoa, that's incredibly old. That's reaching right back into Paleolithic times. That's amazing. The organic material should not survive that long. There's not even a hint of any kind of organized society at that point.
Is it possible maybe this is a culture that we really don't know much about?
That is entirely possible. I think that especially out in western and central Mexico, we have a lack of archaeology.
These dates, is there any way they could be faked in your mind?
I mean, it's within the realm of possibility. You could take some very old material and put it in the binder if you were determined to create a false artifact and trick a test like this, but you'd have to know it was that old. You'd probably have to get an archaeologist who had already found a site that old that knew how to get access to that material.
Do you think an archaeologist would do that?
Certainly I wouldn't. Now, I remind you that you've got one date here, and at the moment, I call it an anomaly. This is not a pattern. You need to find a pattern if you're going to prove this.
Absolutely, and that's why we've taken some samples from this piece, and I've sent them off for C14 testing, and I can't wait to get the results back. It should happen anytime. I never stop being amazed at the rich cultural history of Mesoamerica. That's why it's so critical I verify the results of Mark Russell's C14 test. If the artifact he showed me is truly 9,000 years old, it will represent a new, unwritten chapter in Mesoamerican history. And that's not a book we can rewrite without ample proof, so I need to be sure. That's why I wanted to repeat the C14 dating of his artifact. And today, I finally get the results of my test back.
Hey, Scott.
Mark, how you doing? Good to see you, pal. I had a very interesting time with the jack detectors. I did go in the caves, I saw the carvings, and I saw their artifacts. And I have to say, I really wasn't very impressed. I don't know how old these are. All I know is that, in my opinion, they're not old. The other thing that I did recently was I talked to a Mayan expert, and I showed him some of the artifacts that I got from you, and he said these things don't look like anything that came out of the known cultures that he studied. And that might not be a bad thing, because these had to have come from a culture that existed prior to
Time before.
the Olmecs, the Mayans, the Toltecs. So that's where we're at. And you might recall that we collected a sample, sent it off. And here are the test results. The initial test result that you got from the University of Arizona was about 7,500 BCE. If these results are even close to what you got, I mean, this will completely blow up the historical narrative of North America as we know it today. Are you ready to take a look?
Yes.
Okay, Mark,
Okay.
here we go. You ready for this?
Okay.
You ready for this?
Okay.
9,240 years BP, before present.
That's fantastic.
9,500 years ago from today. Read this and make sure I'm not mistaken. Is that what it says?
That's what it says. 9240 plus or minus 30 BP.
Before present. That's almost exactly what you got before. Do you know what this means?
That means history's changed.
I mean, this is just crazy. Hold on a sec here. Let's go look at this piece for a second over here. Take a look at this, okay? This is where you guys took your sample, right?
Right.
Okay, around the eye, and I took mine under the mouth here. And we got virtually the same results, 9,500 years ago. So you know what that means? You have an incredible artifact here, or somebody had to fake this. The only way something like this could be faked is if an archaeologist went to a known site, collected 9,500-year-old material, created an adhesive, and then created the artifact. Off the top of my head, I'm not even sure what sites you could go to that would have that kind of material, and would an archaeologist do that? I just can't imagine it.
And if they're genuine, it changes the timeline.
It changes everything. I'm glad you brought up the timeline. Let's put this into perspective. If this artifact truly dates to 7,200 BCE, it predates the Inca, the Maya, the Olmec, any Mesoamerican culture by 5,000 years or more. Whatever culture created this existed at the dawn of the Archaic period. Archaeologists believe there were primarily hunter-gatherers around at that time, but clearly this artifact is more advanced than that. Archaeologists are going to put these artifacts into the Archaic period. I think they're going to have to rename that period because there's nothing archaic about these artifacts. Clearly these people are advanced. Look at the beautiful artwork. We've got this strange symbols that we don't even know what they are. I mean, this is a high advanced culture. And let me ask you this, is what we're seeing depicted here contact between these ancient cultures and aliens?
Yes. To me, there's no doubt.
You don't have any doubt, do you?
No.
But you realize, as amazing as these results are, people aren't going to believe it.
No.
They're going to say this is impossible. This is just the beginning. We have a lot more work to do. As excited as I am, I still have a lot of investigating to do before I can be 100% certain Mark's artifact is authentic. As I've said before, this is an extraordinary claim, so it needs extraordinary proof. But for now, I can't help but wonder, maybe the truth isn't out there after all. Maybe it's right here in front of me.